For this one, did you fork the repository so it will be in week 5 instead of week 4?
I actually just copied it.
Nice.
Yeah, so you still have your week 4 example, and now you have your week 5 example. Mm-hmm. So while this is loading, did you get caught up, Anastasia?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So do we have the link to the slides? I was just looking at the slide list.
I can grab it real fast.
This is maybe just we looked over.
Oh, speaker notes.
What is the DOM? Like, DOM itself.
The DOM itself?
Yeah.
So the working knowledge of what the DOM is, it's the HTML on the page. The fancy definition is that the DOM is actually a tree representation of all the HTML elements on the page, or each HTML element is its own node. It's like a graph almost, but it's a representation of the page.
What does DOM stand for?
Document Object Model. So now that we've added React Router DOM, let's head back to our code here. And inside of our app, we're going to import a couple of different things. So we need our browser router as router. We need a switch, and we also need a route from React Router DOM. Now, if we recall inside of our notes, in order to use this, everything gets wrapped in our router. And this says to our React app, hey, we're now going to start using routes in different pages inside of our apps. Our switch. And let's define our first route ever. We want an exact match. Path equals that. And whenever we're on the home page, load up the component splash page. We haven't made splash page yet, but we're going to here soon. So let's head over here and actually create a splash page. Splash page.js. Nope, the other one. Yeah, the other one. Ooh, that's a better one. Anyways, apparently it's not.
Did it sound like?
That is Unicode because the thing messed up. So anyways, we have our splash page, and inside of our splash page, we're going to have a H1 as well as a link to enter the site. So and that's it. Yeah, we could style this and make it look all pretty and everything like that. But we're not here to talk about CSS. So we're saying, hey, now import link, and on our page, create us a link, something that links us to the next page. That will render out as an A tag. So it's nothing too crazy new. Import splash page from components. So now that we've imported our first component for our splash page, we defined our first route. Let's see what this brings us. As I start this up.
I think you put like exact path instead of exact component.
That's fine. Exact can be anywhere inside of there. Those three things, exact, path, and component, bless you, can be in any order.
I really like the emo like paper face thing from that screen. I always love that. It's got like the bangs from the corner flipped over.
This thing,
Yeah.
it is bangs. Oh wow, I never even noticed that.
Yeah. The frowny face could actually just be like a like straight face with like little snake bite piercings.
So yeah, here we have our splash page. Here's our first page of our app, and that's it. We see that we had a link on this page, but this link was rendered out into an A tag. So the reason why we use a link instead of just an A tag is that with a link, it has a little bit of extra power, which we'll get to tomorrow. But it allows us to kind of do things like pass state, dynamically build routes based on where we are. So there's a little bit of extra power there that we're just kind of we'll gloss over today.
So that means we're using API as well, or no?
We could be using APIs too, yeah. So like this, that's the kind of where the links kind of will come into play. So how are we feeling with this? Our first component, our first page, our first route?
Yep.
Feeling okay? Cool. So let's build our second page. Let's have a list of all the Disney villains. So we're going to add a route. Path equals villains component, and let's create a new component here as well called all villains. Now this all villains is going to be another page. Now in here, this is pretty much going to be what our app.js was before. It's going to have our header, it's going to have the list, and it's going to have the footer as well. Did we have the header? We had the villains and the footer as well. So now we expect that whenever we go to /villains inside the URL, we now should see all what we had before. And it acts and it behaves like its own page. 8080. What? Oh. Might help if I run the API. Here's what we had before. Notice how our URL is now something a bit different. And I can actually go back and forth between the two. How are we feeling?
Good. What are you linking the enter link to?
What am I linking the enter link to? So right here.
Was it just linked to villains?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect.
So I can actually click this. And you see my URL changed? My page refreshed. Very, very loosely quotes refresh there. It didn't make that round trip. It's just like, oh, I'm at a new URL. Bloop. I'm going to show the next component.
What is the splash page again?
The actual code?
Yeah.
It's nothing much.
Is it called splash page? Because it's where you first jump in.
Yeah, that's it's an industry term for a spot for like the page. It doesn't really do much. It just has the enter button or like a loading screen or something like that.
It's the splash on your screen. Like Excel
Yeah.
comes out with Photoshop.
Yep.
It's
That's
like a
cool.
little-
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
it's
To
freaking out.
really get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, you can call that welcome screen or first screen or home screen or something like that.
Use false language. I think you're done with these React
As
round
in yeah.
what you're doing in yarn.
Yeah.
You're just gonna make sure you're important. Slightly unrelated question because we were just talking about adding it using yarn.
Yeah.
I've tried the npm-i
Yep.
just update command for yarn multiple times. Is it because I'm using npm that it doesn't want to update properly? Because I'm still stuck on like 2.6 when we're on 2.8 now.
For Yarn?
Yeah.
How did you install Yarn? Did you install Yarn via Homebrew or via NPM?
Probably Humber.
Okay.
Or how do we
Actually,
set it up here?
I forget how we do it in the setup instructions.
Homebrew, because I think that's the official way to install yarn now.
Okay. Yeah. So you have to update. So you don't update it via NPM. You update it via Homebrew.
Brew, upgrade yarn.
Yep.
Thank
Mhm. Because before using Homebrew and Yarn, what was the thing? Yarn was just an NPM package. But nowadays, the official one is to use Homebrew, which is really good install.
Is
It's updated.
Is React Router DOM? It's not like project specific like Axios. Is it? You just download it once.
It is
Good?
project
Oh,
specific.
it is. Okay.
Yep. So every time you want to use it,
You have to. Okay.
Yep.
Are each components acting as your root path? Or what is the point? Like it's like I was telling Thornton, is it like the ultimate refactoring? Is this what this means, having these separate links?
it's pretty much now, up until now in React, we've been dealing with single page, right? Like truly, like our apps only have one page. But in the real world, apps usually have multiple pages, right? Like we have like we have like a /about, /contact, /app, /index, /do the cool thing. There's no real tools natively built into React to do that. So we can use React Router to simulate having multiple pages inside of our app.
So it's simulated this way.
Yep.
So it's almost like pretend making.
Yeah.
Okay.
So remember week one, if we had multiple pages inside of our app, we'd have like index.html. We'd have page 2.html, some other cool page.html. Instead of having those individual HTML files, we now have one big HTML file, one big JavaScript file that simulates having multiple pages.
So our app.js is going to be just like not a to-do list, but what did you say? Like a table of contents.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just the map that says, hey, we have on this page, in this app, we're gonna have multiple pages inside of our apps. And whenever the URL looks like this, whatever is inside of our path, load up those components.
Just like GitHub/Anastasia Malsovis.
Exactly.
Mine.
So if we're
Slash
building
assignments.
GitHub,
Yeah.
our main one would be like, hey, whenever we hit github.com, we should bring up this component.
Yeah.
If we go to GitHub/Anastasia, whatever your username is, bring up the profile component with her as the details.
Yeah.
If I go to the lecture notes example, if I go to like github.com/repository/lecture cohort 13 for our lecture notes, bring up that component for the repositories.
And each component's information, we're refactoring, like
Mhm.
setting up
Yep.
a tab.
So the link comes into play when you request it.
Whenever we want to navigate, have the user navigate to something else,
Uh-huh.
that's where the link comes into play.
Okay.
So like here on our splash page, we want the user to be able to navigate from this welcome page
Okay.
to our actual app. So like if we had like a menu on top of our page, if we had a link to go to someone's profile somewhere inside of our page, we're going to create links inside the villain list here soon. Whenever we want the user to go someplace else, we use a link.
It's more direct.
Because a tag, like, I guess that makes sense, but a link is like, you know what, this is a link to go somewhere.
So, kind of slight tangent
Yeah, that's fine.
here. If you were to make a website, say like a social media thing with like a bunch of like different pages for profiles and everything,
Mhm.
and you're not, I guess you're trying to think how to phrase this. You're not creating all the pages for the profiles. I assume it'd be like a component thing with like properties and everything. But would that be a case of like when you wanted to load a new profile after if a user wants to load a new profile page,
Mm-hmm.
it's like would have to call back, or would the whole, I'm talking about the whole package of the website is like basically given to you and it shows different pages.
Mm-hmm.
In that case where there's just so many, does it still have to like call back and
Yeah.
get it?
And that's what we'll get to here is that, so this page is technically API driven, right?
Mhm.
So it's not loading up and saving all the API data locally. It's just kind of loading up the framework around it.
Okay.
And then still making API calls and everything like that. So it's not loading up the entire Facebook on your laptop or
Mhm.
Facebook. It's saying, hey, I know how to actually describe stuff. I know how to present it. Now, as soon as I'm on the screen, I'm going to go back and get the data.
So in the case like we were talking about earlier, where if you were to like cut off your internet and go somewhere, it would only work if it wasn't like really API driven.
Yep.
Okay.
So, this link 2 that you have in your components now,
Yeah.
the way it's written, is that taking place of the dot post that would have been in your app.js?
It's taking place of A tags.
A tags.
You remember, hey, if you want to link to a page, it'd be like a href equals blah, wherever you want to go. It's almost a one-to-one swap out. Instead of an A tag, use a link tag.
But the calling the API part is
It's still Axios, that's still the same.
still Axios,
Yeah.
still the same. Caught up.
I just always like to think real world here.
Yeah.
Let's say you made a beautiful spa website, but it's just way too hefty for like load times and everything else like that. Obviously, this is trying to host everything on one,
Yeah.
you know, whatever
It's-
the plus.
Yes,
Something
there are
is-
ways to get around that.
Okay.
It's called like progressive loading.
Okay.
It's easy to set up. I use easy in quotes because that's what they all say. But it's pretty much like you can set it so it only loads components and stuff as you need them. So it'll still seem like the spa effect, but instead of loading the entire page, it's only going to load bits and pieces of it. So that loading it all at one time might be an oversimplification, but for week 5 of programmers, it's fine.
The progressive loading though could be like, I feel like that could become a problem
Could
at
be.
some point if
Yeah.
it's like not fast enough or something. Maybe they get to a part that it's just like not loaded yet for a while.
Mhm.
Maybe like a connection thing.
Yeah, optimizing how your JavaScript and HTML loads is a whole beast. And if you're hitting those markers, your app is pretty damn hefty.
And why would it have to like videos and?
A lot of images, lots of HTML, lots of JavaScript.
There's a lot of everything.
Yeah, like it costs bandwidth to download stuff. So
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be more beneficial to take that and put it in the cloud and have it managed that way?
oh yeah, like yeah, hosting stuff in the cloud is the way to go.
Okay.
Fact. Like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, something like that. That's So, good so far? Nothing too nuts, right?
Could you just thinking like organizational, this, that, whatever. Stuff like header, footer, villain, this, that, like those are kind of all the same page. You just make a folder within components and then route it to that folder. So,
So funny you say that. Not funny, haha, but funny, cool. Is that how I like to organize my structures? Is that I'll have components in my components folder. But now that we're creating something new called pages, I typically like to have inside of my source folder, a folder called pages. And inside of pages, that's where I keep like splash page and all villains to kind of keep that even a bit more separated out.
okay.
Because really, like,
Allow
these,
it to actually just-
what?
I was about to ask and then I just did it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's one of those like, well, now I know what pages are so at, and now my components are truly still just my components, just my building blocks of what's going on. There's also more ways to structure your components folder, other than just that, which we'll get to probably whenever you're ordered. But not today.
Could you go back to the all villains, James, please?
Yeah, sure.
And you had, if on the other one you had the path. So when you're reading the path, that's just telling the browser how to return it.
Right here.
Yeah.
Yep. This path is what's up here.
Right. So it'll go to the all villains component showing
Yep.
villains after backslash.
Yep.
Cool.
So let's add our third page, the villain page. Right here. So on this villain page, villain page.js.
Do you always have to make the folder first in your source and then move it? Or can you
No.
move it and
It doesn't like it where I make my file sometimes, so I just make it wherever and then I move it to, yeah. Villain page. So this is for the villain. We'll leave that question mark for right now. Nothing too crazy. So now we're going to define the new route. Path equals villain slash our first parameter here, colon ID. And we want to load the component. Villain page. So far, so good.
do you have
What's up?
No, the import already happened.
Oh, yeah. So that's fine and dandy. Let's head over here. Let's head over here to our villains list. And inside of each villain, so inside of for each one, let's make their name, let's make this a link to that villain page. I'm also going to change this from image to icon. So we want to go to / villains / whatever the current ID is here. Plus this.props.id. Import link from React Router doc. So now if we come back over here, refresh the page. Why not passing the icon down? So now we notice that we have an A tag here. It's now a clickable link. And if I click it, ooh, why is it everything undefined? As this loads. Now if you see here, I know it's kind of hard to see, our link now is now a 1. So now that's our page. Now we're going to redirect to that page. Link to /villains/1. Path components. Throw an exact here. So now when I go to villain/1, I'm now on my villains page. If I go to Ursula, you see my URL is now /villain/4. So even though the /4/1/ whatever is changing, I'm still going to the same page. So that 4 is a parameter, and of course, naturally, we want to be able to access that parameter inside of that component somehow. In order for us to do that, we have to look at this.props, and there's match.params.id. Let's actually console.log out that route to see kind of what that is. .log this.props. Just to kind of see like what all is there. Because this actually provides us with a lot of information, but we're only looking for one part of it. So if I come here, clear this, refresh the page. So our props have all of this stuff, and a lot of this stuff, the history, the location, and the match, that all comes to us from React Router. Just because now we're using these components in a React Router kind of manner to manage multiple pages, our props have gotten a little bit bigger for just our pages components. We now just go, hey, where are our parameters? Was this an exact match? What's the actual URL that we're on right now? So this is all the information about where you are in respect to your page. So with that knowledge, here's the ID that we're looking for. If I change this to anything I want, the ID is going to be anything I want. Just because we named it ID does not necessarily mean that it's a number. It doesn't care about the types. What it's doing, it's matching the URL pattern of we have /villains/something. But we know it's supposed to be an AID.
So it didn't return the 404 because you haven't defined it.
Right. Well, it did return the 404 because it's still matched on /villains/something. And no, I haven't defined a 404 yet. We could define one real fast, just to see it. So our 404 route component equals error page 404. Let's make a new component. Error page 404.js, RCC. Do you even list, bro? Import from pages / So now I can still do that. I can still match whatever the one. But now if I suddenly give it some garbage here, it's going to bring up my 404 page. So that 404 is kind of like a catch-all. I'm sure you've seen the GitHub 404 page, maybe it's a Twitter 404 page. But like that's what they're doing. They're just saying, hey, if the route you're on doesn't match anything else, load this page. That's why, like, hey, there's no path here. We're just saying catch everything. At the very least, load this. Instead of a weird error screen or some unexpected behavior.
If a case somebody wants to steal your parameter like that, you can put it.
What do you mean, like, if I wanted to, like, say it again?
One thing ago, we can steal the parameter copy, put in another, like we try to work with sections page, and so maybe this can stop to doing that.
Of people, like, guessing URLs and stuff?
Yeah.
No. No, people can still guess URLs, yeah.
Is this where they write like, oh snap?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if I go to, like, github.com/garbage, I get a page not found. That's what they're probably doing. They're just saying, hey, catch all requests that don't match our URL structure, and then load up this component.
I thought those were plugins.
Ooh.
I love their 404 page.
That's CSS animations, right?
How would you do it?
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I
You
mean,
could get plugins for that or something?
probably get plugins. But really,
But you can build your own.
you could build your own. It's a mouse event that's tracking where the mouse is,
And changing the positioning of these objects.
Ah, yes.
doing some math to say, hey, where's the perspective changing? Be a fun project for like a weekend. Tossing that out there. The weekend is coming. Anyways, so we have a 404. We have our. But if we go to head back home, let's put a link to go back home there. So now if I get lost, you lost, go home, head back home, enter. If I go down here to Jafar. So now that I'm on this page, that's all fine and dandy. but now I actually want to load up the details for Jafar. So if I head down to wherever that villain's page is, I'm going to close out a lot of this stuff. Here we can use our component did mounts and actually make our API call here. Fetch what's the API call? Ooh, we have Axios. We can say, hey, API, load to me this villain, plus this dot props dot match dot params dot ID. So it's using the component did mount event that we're familiar with. Just go, hey, I'm going to be receiving props from router. Whenever I get those props, make my API call out. Yes, Garrett.
Would it be okay to say, like, say if you were creating this list of these villains and I'm just wondering, would you be able to do some sort of fetch or Axios if it's like an internal, like calling an internal variable, so to speak. Like if I set a variable on the screen, kind of like what I guess in context to what we were doing earlier with the add list.
Mm-hmm.
So the list doesn't exist. Would there be like on that click, do something like this to create the initial list? I mean, is that overkill? It sounds like.
So it sounds like the problem that you're kind of hovering around is what if I didn't have an API?
Right. That's where
Right.
I was like, what? I was totally
Yeah.
threw me.
Tomorrow we're going to talk about how to pass state around
Oh right.
and how to pass state from one component to the next.
Okay.
So if we did have a list client side that wasn't on an API anywhere else, we could pass that thing around.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay. Sweet.
So let's populate this page real fast. We can reuse our villain component. Where are we? There we are. Import villain from /component / villain. Give this thing a state. It's going to be this. And we're just looking at the current state for the villain instead of wherever it was doing before. Villain rasp.data. So we're saying, hey, whenever we go to this page, whenever this component is added to the page, make that API call out. When the API call gets back, update state with the current villain, and then display the data. Using the component that we made over yonder the other week. So see if this works.
I'm saying that's neat.
Okay, it is neat. I mean, it really does open us up opportunities actually. And hey, here we are. So I can switch it out to like number 7, see who that is. Don't know who that's going to be. The Evil Queen. 12. See if 12 exists.
Chernobyl?
Chernobog.
Chernobyl.
Yes. Fantasia.
Ah, didn't see that one.
That was like my favorite movie as a kid. Yeah, I'd watch like the first 3 and then fall asleep and wake up for this one and then fall asleep. Amazing. Perfect.
Slavic.
Oh, yeah. He's actually pretty badass. How are we feeling with Router though?
A homework assignment or 2 and we'll again.
Yeah.
Good. Ironically, you have a homework assignment tonight.
Oh really?
Yes.
I never would have guessed.
Yeah. So because the schedule's a wee bit different this week, tonight is a one-night assignment, and you'll get the weekend assignment tomorrow. Ooh.
Spooky.
But it's not due till Tuesday. 'Cause you're-
Oh, cool. My whole schedule's just gonna be off the rest of that.
It's gonna have a good reset whenever we get to Unit 3. But for next week, the last week of Unit 2, it's gonna be a little bit off.
Unit 2's flying by.
Unit 2 went by really fast.
Yeah, it did.
But it feels good though.
Yeah.
So, tonight for me, I want you all to create for me a page that allows us to explore pictures of Jason's favorite hobbies. We give us a JSON object. You're going to be
Jason's JSON.
yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah,
funny,
Jason's
yeah.
JSON. I love it. But it'll be a couple pages. It's a little picture explorer kind of thing. Categories and subcategories. Nothing too crazy here.
Can we just recreate the first hobbies page we made during the first week?
Use his JSON structure first, and then you can add your own. I think actually adventure mode is to you make your own JSON and use that instead.
So it's kind of similar to what we just did.
Oh yeah, you're going to have a home page, then you're going to have a categories page. Then each category has things inside of it that will have their own pages. So yeah, three-page homework assignment. Nothing too crazy.
Do you think that, what would be a good general flow, like create the components, like how we did before, where you like do everything really in app and then
Yep.
break out the components and then break out the router?
So what I would do is I would actually add the router first and create 3 really simple components. Kind of like how we did this. Remember how we had like a component that just had one line in it? You know, whatever. And when I say simple component, I mean simple component. That is like this, RCC, page 1. And then from here, take these simple components, so like page 1, page 2, and with those really simple, those really dumb components, then I would head over to your app.js and actually get those to have routes. So like route exact path equals page 1 component and not even really worry about the content yet, but just say, hey, can I create a couple different components that live at different URLs? That's a really good first step that I would do.
And the splash page is above this.
Then from there, after we get the router kind of just toggling stuff, then for each page, I would create the static HTML and the static CSS, kind of we've always been doing. And then once you have the static stuff, Then we're about making it dynamic based on the JSON objects.
And after we create the actual new page.
Yep.
We do Yarn React Router.
Yeah, Yarn add React Router DOM. Do that very first. Like app, whatever the homework assignment's called. Go in there, add Yarn add React Router DOM.
Non React router.
React Router dash DOM.
That's what
There's-
you have to do that on the
Terminal.
Yep.
React.
There's a React Router. The reason why it's called React Router DOM, there's that word DOM again. So this React Router is designed for the browser. Someone brought up React Native the other day. Yeah, and there's like a React Router Native, which helps navigation inside of a mobile application. That's not what we're doing here. We're creating websites.
Is there a hyphen?
Yes.
And it's Yarn Add
Yep.
Router React
Yarn add React
Router
Router DOM.
DOM.
That was probably
Yeah.
It's gonna be in the
instead of having you have to write it down and memorize it. It'll be lower. Cool. Sound good?
I'll make the
I'll see y'all at 3.
If you don't mind.